The first year after death is the soul learning to see itself.
I died. Yes, just like you heard. I experienced what for centuries was considered impossible to describe. I saw what happens to the soul in the first year after death, and what I discovered isn't in any religious manual, not even in the oldest accounts of devoted mystics. Today, you'll get access to what for so long was forbidden, hidden, and forgotten. Get ready, because nothing you're about to hear looks like the stories in books or the comforting promises of cults and temples. In this video, I want to take you on a unique journey, an immersion in absolute truth, so intense it will transform not only your certainties, but also the way you perceive life and the hereafter. What I'm about to reveal didn't come from academic theories or folk legends. It comes from a rare source and, as far as I know, almost no one dared to expose it publicly. I discovered this knowledge in an ancient manuscript cited by authorities revered like Raymond Moody, an international reference on near-death experiences and post-mortem consciousness, who spent decades investigating thousands of testimonies like mine. Guided by that hidden tradition, I personally lived the journey between worlds, a secret passed only among those who crossed the border of existence. You might think you've heard similar stories, but you'd be wrong. What I witnessed contradicts everything we were taught. Many believe that dying is turning off, disappearing, falling into nothingness, or arriving at immediate judgment. But what if all that was only part of the truth? Or worse, a distraction? Have you wondered why there are thousands of accounts across different cultures and times describing similar details? Why, after experiencing death, testimonies always come back transformed, with a certainty that was impossible before? Now I want to challenge your view. Feel the chill. Maybe everything you thought impossible is closer than you imagine. My experience didn't start with blinding lights or golden portals. It was an ordinary day, waking up, the smell of coffee, the automatic routine, as if every moment slipped by without us realizing how precious it was. But that rainy afternoon, at an intersection where hurry met tiredness, my path split in two. The accident was instant, brutal. Time seemed to toy with me, stretching that fatal second that separates life from death. When everything went dark, there was no pain, no suffering, just the impact. The relief of a burden lifted from my shoulders, followed by an absolute strangeness. My body no longer belonged to me, and the feeling was both freedom and loss at once. Where I woke up, there were no walls, only a soft, warm light that wrapped everything in deep peace. I could see my body in the street with a clarity I'd never had before, surrounded by rescuers and desperate voices that seemed to come from a distant world. It was like watching a movie from outside the screen. I tried to scream, tried to run, but the concept of movement no longer made sense. That's when I understood. I had died, but I hadn't vanished. I was still me, lucid. My consciousness was crystalline, expanded, as if I finally had access to a truth always hidden behind the veil of appearances. It was there, on the border between worlds, that the unexpected began. Unlike the popular and superficial accounts, I didn't find immediate judgment, nor did I ascend through luminous portals. I felt life unfolding around me, people evoked by thought, living emotions, memories vibrating. Details presented themselves as shapes, colors, sensations, with meanings that seemed to leap out of time itself. And the most astonishing thing? I perceived other beings there, invisible to the common eye, but undeniably present. Vibrations of peace, light, and wisdom. It was in that instant I understood the first secret, what Raymond Moody and many serious seekers sense but rarely explain. Physical death is not an end point. It's a process, a journey, a series of phases and encounters where the soul remains attentive, active, recognizing the ties that wove its existence. The first stage is marked by detached observation. You witness everything and everyone you loved and everything you left aside, all the words you wish you'd said. But little by little, nostalgia gives way to harmony, and loneliness turns into an indescribable presence. The supreme revelation came when I realized that, after the initial shock, the soul begins to experience cycles of learning. We revisit feelings, reconsider decisions, perceive affections like waves returning to their true center. That cycle repeats continuously for almost a whole year of our time, until the soul is ready to move on to deeper experiences. Every detail has a meaning. Reunions with loved ones, presences that guide, lessons that prepare for the next chapter. It's not punishment or reward. It's the great clarification. All of this matters to you. Yes, to you. Because what I'm doing here isn't a distant story, but a vital warning. There's a mysterious, indestructible bond that links your current life with what will come after, and knowing it changes every choice, every gesture, every thought. When you understand that this mysterious process is always active, even now as you watch this video, something inside you changes. Life stops being mere waiting or survival and becomes preparation, expansion, and conscious seeking. You don't need to wait until the end to start knowing yourself. I want you to remember this. Very few have access to this unique and forbidden knowledge, and now it's in front of you. Every second of this video is an opportunity to contemplate the soul and the beyond in an absolute way, never revealed like this before, so openly. Don't let the veil of forgetfulness fall again. From this moment, become someone who consciously chooses the light of truth. And if you're left with the feeling that an even greater secret is waiting to be revealed, you're right. Get ready. In the next encounter, we'll explore an even deeper mystery. What decides where the soul goes after that first year? The light that at first seemed like a soft halo gradually became something more defined, like passing through a door that opened into a room much larger than I'd ever imagined. I wasn't alone there. Other souls floated around me. Some looked familiar, figures that maybe belonged to people I'd crossed paths with in life. Others were completely strange, but none showed fear. On the contrary, many revealed a deep relief, that calm that only comes when a heavy burden is released. Then someone appeared, a man with kind eyes and a serene smile. He didn't speak at first, he just watched me, and soon I felt a wave of love flood my being. An unconditional love that hugged every inch of my soul like a warm blanket on a cold day. He said to me, "Welcome, Grace." How did he know my name? Before I could ask, he raised his hand, and suddenly I went backwards through my life. I didn't just see memories. Even the smallest detail, every word and every choice unfolded before me with a clarity that both hurt and healed at the same time. I saw my selfish moments, my hasty judgments, the times I held grudges for no reason. But I also found light in what I gave without expecting anything in return, in the forgiven and in the love I put into simple acts. It wasn't a punishment. It was a fragile mirror where I faced my whole reality, not the mask shown to the world, but the naked, sincere soul. And in that reflection, there was no condemnation, only deep understanding. The man, gently, said I had lived with love, although I still had much to learn. I wanted to cry, not from shame, but because I finally had in front of me a beautiful truth, even in the broken parts. The scene changed. We moved, like sliding, to a place that felt both ancient and infinite, a space where souls wait for their destiny. This waiting room is not a prison or eternal punishment, nor is it the ultimate heavenly rest. Imagine a huge hall with no walls or ceiling, made of luminous energy where souls wander in various emotions, some sitting in silence, others restless as if awaiting important news. There was a quiet peace, but not complete joy, like the tension in a hospital room before receiving crucial news. I asked my companion why we were there. His answer was clear, because not every journey ends immediately. Some need time to reflect, to understand what they lived, to prepare before continuing. I saw a woman praying alone, worried, a man murmuring in remorse, an inner storm he didn't want to unleash. Some souls carried peace, others shadows of guilt or confusion. But no one was there to be punished or excluded. Everyone was waiting for something invisible. Waiting for what? Seeking clarity, healing, a purpose for what they'd lived and for what was coming. Then he added something that shook me. For those who chose to return, there still existed an opportunity, a path back to the world they'd left, To return, he said. At first, I didn't understand what he meant. Return to what? To this life. That's when I understood I hadn't been sent straight to heaven, nor was I suffering eternal condemnation. I was in a space of learning, discovery, and preparation. And maybe, just maybe, there was a door open to go back. In that instant, I felt a tug, like an invisible thread pulling me toward a distant place. I followed it, not knowing where it would take me. Suddenly, I was no longer in the waiting place. I found myself in my old house, in the living room. Everything exactly the same sofa, the Bible framed on the wall, the cup on the table. But the silence was unbearable, a stillness heavier than any noise. Then I saw her, my mother, sitting on the sofa, holding my favorite sweater, crying silently with tears running down her face. I felt a strong urge to run to her, to hug her, to tell her I was okay, but I couldn't. I was invisible, a spirit beside her, watching her pain without being able to reach her. Then I went to the hospital. My body lay surrounded by doctors and nurses whose desperation was palpable. Someone whispered, "Please, wake up, Grace." Then I saw myself in church, people praying for me, laying hands with faith, asking God to bring me back. I saw my then boyfriend kneeling by my bed, his voice broken, begging for my life. And most surprisingly, an old friend I'd lost contact with was also praying with silent devotion, asking God to hold me. At that moment, I knew something fundamental. Prayer has real power. Even if it sometimes seems invisible or uncertain, it connects with dimensions that transcend our understanding, crossing the border between life and death. Those prayers weren't just empty echoes, but a tangible bond that was bringing me back. God presented me with a choice. I could stay there, in that perpetual peace, or return to this world with its chaos, its wounds, its imperfection. I didn't know what to decide yet, but I needed to see more. And you? Are you ready to find out what happens when the soul decides to return? What would you learn if you could choose between continuing and going back? This puzzle is only the beginning of a deep truth that's just starting to be revealed. Do you dare to follow the path with me? I was drawn again, this time to a place that defied any known description. There was no darkness or torment, no scorching flames. It was a silent, majestic space where I stood before something beyond any image I could have imagined. It wasn't a throne, not a king, not even a full form, just an immense presence, a sacred power radiating pure love, not a love that ignores mistakes, nor one that justifies wrong choices, but a love that sees everything without judgment and still chooses grace. I felt my heart open, not physically, but deep in my soul, as if each layer of my being was being removed to reveal me naked before the source of all life. And then a deep voice resonated in my spirit. "Grace, what do you see?" I looked inward and contemplated my life from another dimension. I didn't just see actions, but hidden intentions, secret desires, the words I spoke and those I never dared to say, the secrets I buried deep inside. I understood then that true judgment isn't about ticking boxes or counting mistakes. It's the condition of the heart that matters. I saw the times I served others out of obligation, not genuine love. Those acts where I helped expecting something in return, or prayers offered with doubt in my soul. But I also saw moments of pure giving, when loving cost me, when I chose mercy instead of justice. God doesn't measure us only by our falls. He weighs our heart. He knows our inner battles no one sees. The voice spoke again. "Your heart is not perfect, but it is open, and that is enough." Tears flowed from my spiritual eyes, not from sadness, but from relief and release. I hadn't earned heaven, nor did I deserve it, but the invitation was still there. Then I was offered a choice. Would I stay here or go back? Before I could decide, they showed me something incredible. I saw before me, like in a sped-up film, the year that follows death unfold. I watched how souls take different paths depending on their choices in life. Some enter directly into peace, walking into the light with joy and serenity. Those are the ones whose hearts were full of love and humility, whose journey was complete. Others remain in that intermediate space, learning, growing, and reflecting for months. Some find peace after struggling with themselves. Others resist and get stuck in resentment or pride. I remembered the case of a man who lived selfishly and only after death contemplated the pain he caused. He cried seeing his children grow without him, and over time changed and was freed. I also saw a woman who ran from God her whole life. At first she stayed in darkness, refusing to move forward, but eventually she turned toward the light. Finally, I observed the darkest path, chosen by those who rejected love, clung to hatred and rebellion. They weren't sent to an eternal fire, but to a void of separation, silence, and loneliness. Not as divine punishment, but because they chose to distance themselves. There I understood that eternity begins the moment we choose our path. Many believe in a second chance after death, but the truth is, our life decisions determine what follows. There's no restart, there's a reflection, a settling of accounts, the opportunity to face what we built. And if we accept love, if we open our hearts, there is always hope. Denying it is the real form of condemnation. After this vision, I returned to the presence of light. The same being who had guided me from the beginning stood before me. In a soft voice, he said, "Grace, you have seen the truth. You have seen the consequences of choices, the Father's mercy. Now you must decide." I trembled, unable to form a word. "You can stay here in peace or return to finish what's left unfinished." Return. That word resonated in every fiber of my soul. Could I really go back? Would I want to? This place was perfect, without pain, without fear or guilt, just unconditional love. But then I thought of my mother, my friends, of the prayers that crossed dimensions for me. I thought of lessons I hadn't learned, of the love I still had to give, and I knew I wasn't done. I looked at the being and whispered, "I want to go back." He nodded, and the light intensified. I felt myself being pulled faster, like a current dragging me through time. And then, pain, cold, noise, light. I gasped. I was back, in my body, in the hospital. Shouts surrounded me, monitors blaring frantically. A doctor exclaimed, "She's breathing." I opened my eyes. I know what you might be thinking. Maybe I don't believe you. But this testimony isn't a product of imagination. It's the revelation of a hidden reality, a knowledge kept secret for centuries. Raymond Moody, a pioneer in the study of near-death experiences, confirmed through his research that these experiences aren't mere illusions, but palpable evidence of what science and spirituality are beginning to understand. Consciousness survives physical death. Now you have this unique truth in front of you. What will you do with it? Will you cling to the familiar or open your soul to this never-before-revealed mystery? Maybe you think this was just an illusion, a trick of the brain, a dream that fades upon waking. But I know what I saw. I know what I felt deep in my being. And if you're someone who believes in God, even if you've lost your way or you're just going through life without really living it, I ask you to listen closely. This life is not all that exists. Every decision counts. Every word spoken, every act of love sown in the world has weight in eternity. When you choose hatred over forgiveness, when pride wins over humility, it's not that God keeps score like an implacable judge. He measures the truth of the heart. He sees what we are becoming. I came back with a very clear mission. I didn't come to preach or judge. I came to warn, to give hope, to remind, especially those who believe, that eternity is real and begins now, in this very moment. Don't wait until it's too late to repent. Don't leave the surrender of your soul for another time. Don't ignore those soft whispers of the Holy Spirit that call you in silence. Because when the moment to leave comes, there won't be a second chance to fix what you abandoned here. But if you decide today to turn, to humble yourself, to seek God sincerely, and live in true love, you will find a peace that transcends all understanding. And when your time comes, you will not fear, because you will already be home. This is not just my story. It's a message for you, a call to wake up. If this testimony touched your soul, don't keep it to yourself. Whether you're a believer in need of a reminder or a soul searching for light in the dark, I hope these words have reached the deepest corner of your spirit. Also remember that experts like Raymond Moody, an undisputed reference in the study of near-death experiences, corroborate that these events reveal a truth that transcends conventional science and religion. They are not tales or delusions, but realities revealed to those who dare to look beyond. If you haven't yet, I invite you to open the door to this knowledge, to not close your mind or heart. Share this message with someone who needs it, a friend, a family member, someone doubting or facing uncertainty on their spiritual path, because eternity is real, and we all must be ready to face it with light and love. Thank you for listening, for letting me speak to your soul. Thank you for being part of this sacred mission to bring hope, healing, and heavenly truth to those who seek it. May God bless you wherever you are on your journey.